Well, here's some more stuff. So we're going to talk about good resources for game designers, but I'm going to mention just for a moment where the inspiration for this story came from. Uh, I like to be a positive guy. As everybody knows, I'm somebody with very few opinions, and they're all 100% positive.
Bright, sunshiny Jason.
The sun shines out of my behind. But, to quote Morrissey, but the other day, this fella showed up from a country that I won't name because I'm not here to name and shame. I'm just going to
Mhm.
say from a country that isn't the U.S. And whatever, I'll say he. I've already said he. He was spamming the heck out of all these different groups on Reddit and Facebook and everywhere else with this idea of I'm going to be your game design guru. If you have trouble with game design, mechanics, balance, world building, playtesting, layout design, come to me. Let's talk about your game. And, well, it was pretty obvious that this was some dude pulling up ChatGPT and, just basically trying to sell the answers he got. His artwork was all AI generated. People were saying that his writing was all AI generated. I'm not one to judge. It looked like it to me too, but he wouldn't admit it. He's like, no, 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 I've done all this stuff. And he had made a game or two, not much, but he was getting into fights with everybody. And it was just what struck me was here's some guy who has decided that he's figured out how to use ChatGPT as
Mhm.
if everybody else hasn't figured it out too.
Right.
And he's gonna essentially do a little bit of arbitrage, and I'm gonna be giving credit where credit's due. The idea of doing a little knowledge arbitrage is not exactly a dumb idea. Um, you know what I mean by arbitrage?
I do not.
Arbitrage is, well, typically arbitrage is something that they talk about from a financial perspective. So, for example, if you find out that tulips in Holland are selling for $4 and in France they're selling for 20, you're going to go to Holland, buy the $4 tulips, bring
Mhm.
them to France and sell them for 20.
Okay.
The difference between those is the arbitrage.
Got it.
So
All right.
basically, arbitrage means that you know something or have access to something that other people don't. That's the only value you're bringing. You're not actually doing anything to increase the value. Your value comes from the fact that you know something the other person doesn't. And so, there's something to be said for that. Uh, but you can't really apply that to using ChatGPT. Everybody can do it.
Mhm.
And I said to this guy, look, you are targeting a hobby slash industry with lots of people who make things, but nobody makes any money. Everybody's breaking even. If they're breaking even, they're really happy. A lot of people are
Mhm.
losing money as they make their games. And you're asking them to pay you to teach them how to do better mechanics and better playtesting and better layout design, but you're not even an expert. You're just going to ChatGPT.
Right.
Anyway, I'm trying to learn not to get into so many arguments on the internet. So eventually I walked away. But what it got me thinking was, hang on a second though. So this guy's uh he's a jamoke, or whatever. And he's a dummy. But there are really good resources. So I wanted to talk about good resources from people who know what the heck they're talking about. And I can see the first thing we have up on here on the screen is one of the best resources from one of the best game designers. So these are things by Jim Ward, James M. Ward, and also Stephen Chenault of, is it Troll Lords?
Troll Lords, yeah, I believe.
Thank you. Sorry, Stephen.
I have both these, by the way.
What do you think?
Yeah, they're good. They're really good. They're very handy.
So what we're looking at here is a pair of books called The Storyteller's Thesaurus and The Storyteller's Dictionary. I think the Thesaurus came first. I think. So Jim Ward and Anne Brown did a book called The Storyteller's Thesaurus for Fantasy, History, and Horror, which is just a great resource for all kinds of things. And then they did another book called The Storyteller's Dictionary.
Hmm.
And these are not books to sit down and read cover to cover. These are reference books, So when you get
Hmm.
into these, it's a dictionary, exactly what you think. So I
Here,
flipped
want
to
to
a
turn that
random
around
page
again?
here. Sure.
Try it. There you go. Yep.
So I flipped to a random page here, and I'll just have to come back so I can read it. So you see words in here like palash, heavy single-edged sword with a straight blade, the blah, 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 blah. A shottel. These are different types of blades under weapons and armor. Here in the settings section, we see things about deserts, depressions, caverns, coniferous forests, tropical rainforests, just all the kind of things that you're going to want to know. And I'll just give a little bit of a look at the index or the table of contents here. So I think that's the best way to describe it. So in the table of contents, we can see there's chapters on geography, fauna, flora, social organization, weapons and armor, clothing, travel and storage, vehicles, settings, etc. It goes on. And even within social organization, you have a section on government structures, economic systems, religion, military organizations, ancient Greek units, Roman units, medieval units, everything you need to know. It's a starting point. You know, if you go in here and you find out who all of the ways that ancient Greek armies were organized by their units, it's a good starting point, and you might decide, I want to go do more research. But this is where you start with that. It was just, what were we talking about the other day in the other episode? There was a resource that was something like this. I've forgotten now.
Oh, I
Anyway,
don't remember.
I don't remember what we do from week to week. But
Yeah.
anyway, this is just a great resource for you if you want to go in and just sort of know what all. Oh, I know what it was. It was somebody who had built a incredible is the lawyer's magical lawyer.
Oh, right. Yeah. That's right. The
You
Magical
know,
Lawyer book. Yeah.
yeah. So this is a little bit like that. It's going into great detail about things. It's a reference book that you're going to use as inspiration for your imagination and your creativity. And they're both available from Troll Lord Games. I'm pretty sure they still sell them. The actual publishing imprint is Chenault and Gray Publishing. So that's the first thing I want to recommend. Pick up the Storyteller's Dictionary and the Storyteller's Thesaurus, whether you are an author or a game designer. And Scott is asking in the chat here, how do these compare to Gary Gygax's World Builder, Nation Builder, and Living Fantasy? So we're going to talk about a different couple of Gary Gygax books, but I didn't think to put those in. That's a good call out. And I think those are Troll Lord also. Correct me if I'm wrong. But Gary Gygax did a series of books about world building and everything else. Those books by Gary Gygax are a lot more in depth. Those are ones you can really kind of use totally standalone, whereas the Storyteller's Dictionary is something that's more of a jumping off point. That's how I would compare those. So those are the first ones. What are some other resources we had here
Oh,
to talk
hold on.
about?
Before we do that one, I want to pull up something here. Can I pull up an image?
Please do. What are you pulling up? Come on, give us some dead air. Do it.
Yeah, I know, right? Dead air. Keep
All right.
talking.
We'll
Go
tell
ahead,
you
just
what. You
talk
pull
about
that
this.
up, and I'll talk
let me
about
get it.
these
Yeah.
others. You can bring your 2 cents in a minute.
Okay.
So, actually, with inflation, I think it's a nickel.
I think so, yeah.
All right. So the first one we have here on the left is a book from Goodman Games, How to Write Adventure Modules That Don't Suck. 100% buy this book. It does include one of our Solarian folks. It includes Merle Rasmussen, the creator of Top Secret, who did a chapter in here on how to use Legos in your games, which is super fun. But it's filled with essays by all these different. This is more for TTRPGs. This is all these different creators giving their takes on how to write great games and adventure modules and everything else. So that's one I highly recommend. And then on the right-hand side here, we have a thing. This is a blog called Anyway. And it's something that's been going on for a very long time. I see links going back here to at least 2009. And the author of Anyway, I'm sorry, I've forgotten who writes this blog, Vincent Baker. So one of the folks in the Reddit subreddit for RPGs recommended this blog, and it was one of the best recommendations I've gotten in a long time. This is just article after article after article about how to make great RPGs. Things like how RPG rules work, concrete examples of arrows, adequacy, cause and effect, things on character sheets, currency, reliable versus unreliable currency, monster mania, positioning, fictional position. I mean, it just goes on and on, article after article. If you are doing a TTRPG, go read the Anyway blog. We'll put the link up in here, but just look for Anyway by Vincent Baker, and it's an amazing resource. And Peter, what were you trying to pull up?
Oh yeah. All right. Give me 1 second. I got it right here.
Oh, I thought you were ready.
No, I got it. It's right here. I forgot. I didn't attach this image. I didn't see it.
Oh, okay.
I
Well,
forgot.
this is
Ham
the
bones.
best thing of all.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. So we're talking about, how to, what do you call it? How to create games and how to write stories and all that kind of stuff. But when you're all done, you're going to need to crowdfund it, probably. And so one of our favorite people, Hambone, John McGuire, Hambone has written a book called Crowdfund Your Fucking Life, a do-it-yourself guide to crowdfunding your first tabletop RPG. So if anyone listening is an old punk, you probably read Maximum Rock and Roll back in the day, which, despite the name, is not really about rock and roll, which sucks, but it's about good music like punk. Mm-hmm. And Maximum Rock and Roll put out a book, I guess it was, called Book Your Own Fucking Life. And it was a guide for bands, how to book your own tour and do it yourself, a DIY guide to being a band. And John's a punk. And so he did something kind of a take on that called Crowdfund Your Fucking Life. It is some of the best. It's succinct. It's short. It's not going to take you a long time to read, but every single word of this book is just dripping with value. It's just gold. If you need to understand how crowdfunding works, and not from somebody who's going to come in there and be a guru and try to tell you a bunch of stuff that doesn't even apply to you, this is for game creators. And it is very succinct, to the point, tells you exactly what to do. It's realistic. It's not telling you you're going to have the next $1 million Shadow Dark. It's telling you, look, you've got something that costs money to make. You don't have that money right now. Here's how to get people to put it up so that you can make the thing that they want to buy.
Right.
It's just great.
So I got a couple books here before we go on to the rest
Do
of
it.
it. I'll just show these real quick. These are books that I use from time to time that I bought over the years, and they have nothing to do with gaming, but they're tangentially. So I've got 2,000 Most Challenging and Obscure Words.
I love it.
Yeah, if you want to find like a really cool name for like a spell or something, you can dig through this book. And I mean, this is just like, this is like old school, like an old dictionary type of thing.
Oh, this is so great.
So that was a good one. And then if you're going to, I got this one just because it was cool. But I have used it for some things. It's called the Dictionary of Angels.
Whoa.
And it's not like a biblical text or anything like that. It's literally just like an encyclopedia of the angels. And I had no idea that we're so many angels. This was the first time
we've had
heard,
like 2,000 years for people to
right.
list them all out.
Like, for example, I never knew what Metatron was.
Metatron's the voice, right?
Yeah, I didn't know that before I had this book. And I've had this book for like 15 years now.
Mm-hmm.
But I was flipping through the book. I was like, Metatron? What is it? Some kind of mecha? Some kind of
it does
mecha?
sound like a BattleTech guy.
Right. And then I was like, oh, okay. And then this one's another cool one I picked up. It's Signs, Symbols, source book. And it's got all kinds of like your symbology and stuff throughout history, like all kinds of like hieroglyphic type stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So
that's amazing.
So that's
and I like that. So what was the first one about the obscure words called?
Yeah, 2,000 Most Challenging and Obscure Words.
I love these. I mean, I was so I'm listening to a lecture series by Professor Michael C. Drought about Tolkien, and I learned some things I didn't know. For example, in the Lord of the Rings, in the Hobbit, there's 13 dwarves, and they all have their names like Thorin and that's the only one I remember off the top of my head. But anyway, right. Thorin and 12 others. All of the names in there, he didn't make any of those up. He just went to ancient Norse sagas and he found names of the dwarves that were listed and said, okay, those are my dwarves.
Right.
I mean, Tolkien was the ultimate researcher, right? He would just take these things like you're showing and he would turn them into something that was accessible to everybody. It's a great way to do it.
Right.
And what's fun about these things is when you start getting into those words, I would also highly recommend, this is just an online resource. It's just the online etymology dictionary.
Oh, yeah, I use that. I've used that quite a bit.
When I want to understand a word, when I learn a new word or I just want to understand it, I want to know the etymology because I feel like that's the best way to get it. The other morning, we live in the country, so there's roosters crowing. And I said, oh, the rooster's crowing. And then I thought, I wonder if rooster, what came first, the word rooster or the word roost? Which came first? And digging around the etymology, what I found out was that uh, for almost, we didn't start calling them roosters until about 100 years ago. For most of English, a male chicken was a cock. That's, you've got a hen and a cock.
Yep.
And there's an old Germanic word called rust and Old English called raust. And these are basically just mean the roost is like the top of your house. And then eventually it's because that's where the roosters go and they sit up there. And so what they started doing is they would call them roost cocks because the cock would sit on the roost and all those kind of things. And then somewhere in the late 19th century, some Americans decided that the word cock was going to mean something other than rooster. And so, but it hadn't made its way to England yet. And so I found there was a thing in there about an article that somebody wrote in a newspaper in England, advice on going to America. Be very careful. You do not call it a cock because the women will faint. You have to say rooster. They say rooster there.
Dude, that's my new porn name.
Yes.
Roust cock.
Roust
Roust cock.
But I mean, that's what you learn by looking in the etymology dictionary. So, this is going way out of the game world, but I'm just saying, whenever you want to know a word, go look up the etymology. It's so
but
fun.
when you're trying to come up with names for stuff in your fantasy setting or whatever, just making words up is nowhere near as much fun as finding words and like working with them and figuring it out.
It is a established guide for fiction writers. Give your character a name that says something about who they are. Darth Vader. He's a dark invader. I mean, it feels kind of cheesy, but you can go right ahead and name your character something that essentially says who they are. What was it? Neil Stephenson named his character Hero Protagonist.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Dutch.
So,
yeah. Well, hold on. Vader is the Dutch word for father. I thought that was a thing. That was
so it's a little
he's
double.
He's the dark father. See, of Luke.
Luke. Yeah. Spoiler alert, everybody.
If it was it was a giveaway from the very beginning.
That's great. Okay. Yeah. So there's some things. We have a couple more resources before we move on.
Yeah. You know what? I didn't see these pictures until later. I've got this one.
I'll just mention
one more, which is this.
All right. So
what this was.
We're looking here at a picture of a video. This is a video called 20 Years, 20 Lessons. The person we see in here is Mark Rosewater. He's the head designer for Magic the Gathering. And he just did a great video on all the lessons he's learned over 20 years of running Magic the Gathering. It's not necessarily just about card games. You can take the things that he talks about in this for any game. A couple other things I'll mention and then we'll move on. We mentioned Gary Gygax. People sometimes I think don't realize just how many books he really did write. He wrote a pair of books called Role Playing Mastery and Master of the Game. You can find them on eBay. Sadly, they've been out of print for so long. I don't know. Maybe now that all of the rights are reverting to Luke and everything, maybe he'll be able to get these put out again. But Role Playing Mastery is, if you're a gamer just playing a game, that's the book to read. It's tip, tactics, and strategies for improving your participation in any role-playing game. And then Master of the Game, which is principles and techniques for becoming an expert role-playing game master. So if you want to know what Gary Gygax thought was the way to play a game and the way to run a game, those are your books. Pick them up. I have them both. They're great. They're written in high Gygaxian, I'll admit. And then the very last thing I want to mention is a book that if you ever see this on the shelf, it looks, I'm going to just say it looks scammy. It looks
does.
stupid. If
Yeah.
you saw the cover of this book, you'd be like, I am not buying this book. This is so dorky.
This looks
But
like
it's the
a book of the week at like Barnes and Nobles or something.
Yeah, yeah. But it's the best book I've ever read on game design, mostly for board games, but on anything. It's by Joe Slack, Slack, like a pair of pants. Joe Slack. It's called The Board Game Designer's Guide, the easy 4-step process to create amazing games that people can't stop playing. But you know what? It is. This thing, I'm just going to say one thing about the book that has always stuck in my head. And the whole book is filled with this kind of stuff. And by the way, he's absolutely got the chops and the qualifications to write a book like this. But he said, when you're sitting down to design a game for the first time, the first thing you think about should not be what it's going to look like. Don't think about who's going to publish it. Don't think about who's going to play it. Don't think about the theme. Don't think about the mechanics. Don't think about any of those things. The first thing you should ask yourself is, what do I want people to feel when they play my game? Do I want them to be scared? Do I want them to feel wonder? Do I want them to feel silly? Do I want them to feel like the master tacticians? Do I want them to feel like they're having a great time with their buddies and it really doesn't matter what happens? That's the first thing you have to think of. It seems obvious in retrospect, but until I read it in that book, I never, ever thought about it that way. So The Board Game Designer's Guide by Joe Slack, highly recommend it. It looks goofy, but I guarantee you're going to love it.
I will say, for some real validity attached to this, I mean, in addition to Joe Slack, it says forward by Jamie Stegmaier, which is one of the premier board game designers in the world.
Yes.
So that lends some credibility.
So there's some resources. And you know what? I'm just going to mention something. Oh, okay. Here's another good one. Here we put that on the stream here from Scott. He recommends The Practical Guide to Becoming a Great GM. So, and by the way, I'll bring up one more that I didn't put in the list. I haven't read it yet, so I can't recommend it. But it's called How to Run an Advanced Guide to Managing Role-Playing Games by Alexis D. Smolensk. As I say, I haven't read this yet, so this might be garbage, but it's another one to think about.